Cowboy Nation, what is happening? Live and in living color, we bring to you the Noise of the Boys podcast, a Dallas Cowboys Homer exclusive from our studio at HQ1. I am your co-host, color commentator Matt Longoria, and with me, as always, my right-hand dude sitting to my left, Uncle CTom.
What's up, everybody? Matt and I are just two true blue, over-the-top, diehard fanatics that come together to make some noise about the boys. How are we feeling today, Matt Long?
We are feeling much better than we did moments after that suffocating loss in Kansas City, and that's all in anticipation of the game that is on the borderline. That is going to be Las Vegas Raiders versus your Dallas Cowboys at home, and we are looking forward to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always looking forward to the Thanksgiving games. Those are my absolute favorite games of the entire year. Eat some turkey, sit down with some fam, got my jersey on, and then watch Zeke eat. So
let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. For those of you that don't know, yes, we are the Noise of the Boys podcast. We are a brand new channel, up and coming. We are looking to gain a following. And just so you know, we are all about the Dallas Cowboys, stone cold homers, as we like to call ourselves. But let's get right into it. In our previous episode, we discussed the importance of Dak Prescott in this Dallas Cowboys offense, bouncing back and getting back to looking like the Cowboys that we know and love. In a league where doing this is easier said than done, what adjustments must this offense take to be successful on this Thanksgiving?
First of all, how about our guys catch the football? That's going to be the first thing. We cannot have drops. 5 drops for a receiving core this good. I know we don't have Amari Cooper, but to me that's not really an excuse. A receiving core that is this talented, there's no reason for that amount of drops. I know that Dak didn't play his best, but 5 drops is unacceptable. Something else that we need to correct moving forward is obviously going to be the protection. For some reason, Troy Aikman thinks that our line is the best in the NFL. I think that is far from the case. So getting Tyron Smith back obviously helps strengthen that point. So it'll be interesting to see how our offense adjusts, how our offensive line coach makes adjustments, and if we stick with Connor McGovern now that Tyron Smith is coming back, or if we move back to Connor Williams. There's a lot of questions on the offensive line, but obviously the biggest thing to be excited about is going to be Tyron Smith being back.
Admittedly, on a week-to-week basis, you can see this Cowboys team trying to find the answer on the offensive front and the offensive line. But as you mentioned, and to your point, Tyron Smith's return is going to be a big and impactful one in terms of being successful here on the offense. So if you follow the Dallas Cowboys as closely as we have at this point in the season, I feel as though it's necessary to bring up Ezekiel Elliott and his willingness to play through injuries. How should the Cowboys play him in this game to not only produce efficiency on the offense, but to minimize injuries and protect Elliott moving into a 10-day break?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 10-day break is going to be really good for Zeke. He's got some injuries that he's nursing right now. So it'll be definitely good for him to get those couple of days off. Now, obviously he's not going to overcome all of it, but that little bit of extra rest will probably go a long way for him. As far as what to expect from Zeke in this game in particular, that's a really good question because we don't really know the extent of his injuries. All we know is that we see him on the sidelines kind of waving off the medical staff. We see him on the sidelines acting like everything's fine. We see him in the games pushing through the pain. Obviously, that ankle turn and re-aggravating that knee injury in the last game is not going to help matters. But Zeke is a tough SOB, guys. He really is. So I think he'll play well. This is not one of the best rushing defenses in the league. I expect Zeke to eat on Thanksgiving.
In a game where contact is inevitable and thus so are injuries, it's important that you pick and choose when it's important. It's important that you pick and choose when it's necessary to come back in a game. I would say that Ezekiel Elliott will do really well if he was in the professional wrestling business, as it does not matter how bad you're hurt, you finish that match. With that being said, we are not in the professional wrestling business. We are in the NFL. It is important to not only play through injuries, but to pick and choose the correct ones. So that being said, in the midst of the uncertainty of who should be starting at the left guard. We did touch on this. Starter Tyron Smith looks to make his return this Thursday afternoon. What kind of impact do you predict Smith will play on the front lines of this Dallas offense?
Yeah, obviously Tyron Smith, probably, if not the best, one of the best left tackles that the Cowboys have had. This guy is an absolute monster. He shores up that left side. And having him back there, I'm sure that means a lot to Dak, whether Dak wants to admit that or not. Having a Hall of Fame level left tackle is going to make you a lot more confident. It's going to give you the ability to step up into the pocket, to feel more confident in your throws, step through, go through all of your progressions. And if and Tyron's the kind of guy where he might give up one or two a game, and that's fine because we know that the other 98% he's going to be just about flawless. So you kind of have to live and die with his pros and cons. But I expect Tyron to be back. I expect him to play well, and in turn I expect Dak and Zeke to play well.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very noteworthy re-addition of Tyron Smith. I think that he's a leader on this offensive line, and the lead wolf will lead his pack to hunt and find the food in the end. And in this case, we hope that they feast here on Thanksgiving. I would hate to be the guy lining up against Tyron Smith. That is one mass of a man, and I fully predict that Dak will have a lot more time, more so on the weak side. He does not have to worry on a play-by-play basis if someone is coming to hit him from behind and smack that football out of his hands, as we did see in the previous game against Kansas City.
Yeah, and if I do have a critique of Dak, something that he struggled with throughout his career is fumbles, and he has had a few lost fumbles this season, unfortunately. He's been pretty good about protecting the football as far as his throws. A lot of his interceptions come on, plays that should have been made by the receivers or a tipped ball in the air. And that's just how the NFL works. Everybody's really fast. Everybody plays really well. But something that, I'd like to see him improve on is the fumbles, the strip sacks, and things of that nature. But definitely having Tyron back is going to help that a lot. And I don't want that to be overlooked. I also think that having Tyron in that spot is going to, in turn, help the left guard position, whether it's Williams or whether it's McGovern. What I'm hearing from the Star is that it's probably going to be McGovern, but we never know with these things. We also thought that Tyron was going to play on Sunday, and we woke up Sunday and he was out. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust and who they put in that left guard position.
It all starts with that offensive line in terms of providing protection for Dak Prescott and creating holes for Ezekiel Elliott and establishing the running game. With that being said, expect Dak Prescott to bounce back here in this next one. Dak's a guy whose preparation is second to none. I think his coaches will attest to that. So be fully prepared for Dak Prescott to make his presence known in this one, and him being a primary factor and reason that leads to the Dallas Cowboys' success tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the biggest Dak fans in the entire world, so I'm looking forward to Dak coming out and absolutely lighting it up against the Raiders. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Not having Amari Cooper is that is a big loss, and we'll see if the receivers decide to show up on Thursday. We're only 4 days removed from a really, really, really bad loss. Not necessarily that it affects us in a really bad way, but our performance, it could be easily, it can easily deter us, I guess. So we'll see what our team is actually made of, and if our receivers and our quarterback is able to bounce back. One thing I will say is I know that Dak will bounce back mentally. This guy, like you said, preparation, second to none. This guy, doesn't matter if we're down 10-0, if we're down 30-0, or if we're up 30-0, this guy is going to play every single snap like it's his absolute last play. So I look for Dak to come out, have an efficient game, to make the throws that we're accustomed to seeing.
Yes, Dak certainly does step up to the plate when his number is called, and when it is not called, hopefully that means we're doing so well that we pulled him and he's no longer playing. That being said, I think we can all agree that Dak Prescott needs help, not only on the front lines but in this receiving core. It's no secret that the Cowboys receiving core struggled in a game where it felt like we needed them the most. Without the presence of one Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb's return hanging in the balance, how can the Cowboys supporting cast help Dak Prescott in this upcoming game? I know we talked about them needing to catch the ball. Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of how the backups and our supporting cast can actually help Dak be efficient?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they just got to be a lot more crisp. It kind of seemed like we were almost like going through the motions, and we weren't ready. It didn't feel like we had the same physicality and the same intensity, to match the Kansas City Chiefs. So if there's one thing that I'm looking for guys like Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown to make their presence felt. I know that defenses aren't necessarily scared of third, fourth, fifth receivers, but on this team, this is a case where you should be. So I kind of want to ask you another question. Without Amari Cooper, let's assume that CD plays. Who are you looking for to stand up in the passing game? Do you think it'll be Cedric Wilson, or do you think it'll be a Dalton Schultz, or do you think it'll be Noah Brown?
See, I think we need a balanced effort from the three of those individuals. With that being said, we know that if CD plays, he's going to be the guy that the defense hones in on, and
he's the big play guy, and that. Having CD is a huge bonus because he's the guy that can take the top off of the defense, right? He's the big play guy, big catch guy, difficult catch guy. He's the one you throw it up to. You just jam Y, you just throw it up to him in Madden, right? He's going to go up and he's going to make that contested catch. But like you said, we need a consistent and an overall, by committee, a good effort from the rest of the guys. Guys like Cedric Wilson can't be dropping balls on 3rd and long, when we're looking to try and swing the momentum. So I completely agree. If CD does play, it sounds like he will. I expect him to have a decent game, but without Amari Cooper, they're probably going to hone in on him. So do you think that Cedric makes a big play? Like, what's your bold prediction from this game from the receivers?
Yeah, if I had to pull one out of my hat and absolutely put one in there, I think the guy to look out for would be Cedric Wilson. He's known for those big giant plays. I think that us as fans are very spoiled, specifically when Dak's on the run. When he launches it downfield, we can fully expect all of our receivers, at least one of them, to be wide open waiting to catch that football. And it's just that these receivers need to be ready to catch the ball. I think that
Dak will find them.
Absolutely. And I think that they are fully aware that they do have an elite quarterback on their hands. And maybe that they're spoiled in the fact that they expect Dak to put it on the money every single time. That's not what they're paid to do. They're paid to catch the football. So when it's in the vicinity and your quarterback is under duress and being tracked down by the defense, you need to be ready to catch that ball. If it's within hands reach, you bring it in.
Yeah. And I don't want to kill Ced Wilson too much. This guy has been huge in the absence of Michael Gallup. He's been a really great addition to the team. He's really stepped up to the plate. So he had a rough game. I'm hoping that the guy can put it behind him. But even though he did have a rough game, we did see him make some really nice catches. He had one where he kind of had to, it was a bad ball by Dak and he went down to the ground and it was a tough catch. He made the catch though. Plays like that is what we're going to need from Cedric Wilson if Amari Cooper is out. Cedric Wilson is that X factor in my opinion. Kind of talking a little bit about Noah Brown though. There are times when Noah Brown kind of comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh, let's go CD. And then, the camera turns and you see that it's a 5, not an 8. And you're like, oh crap, that's actually Noah Brown. So all compliments in the world to Noah Brown. I think that he's stepped up more this season than we've seen from him in the past, because a lot of times when you saw him on the Noah Brown, when you saw him on the field, you were like, oh, okay, so it's going to be a run, right? Because he's a big guy. He's good at blocking. But this season, he's actually made some significant plays in the pass game where you're kind of like, oh my gosh, let's go, CD. So looking for Ced Wilson and Noah Brown to have their thumbprints on this game without Amari Cooper.
A supporting cast and Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson. I think that in a world and in a receiving core where the spotlight is on CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup, these guys need to match those guys' effort. I mean, they are in a position and separate themselves at that position for a reason. It's not only because of their preparation and their God-given talent, it is because of their effort. Those effort plays go a long way. Don't expect because you're covered, someone will get open. No, you do your individual role, you do your due diligence, and you get over and you give Dak Prescott a shot. Absolutely.
Looking forward to this game for sure, especially against a defense like this. As a Cowboys fan, with such a long tenure of Jason Garrett, we've kind of become accustomed to everybody steps up. You do your job, we do what we do. Doesn't matter what the opposition. It's all about execution. That's what you can expect to see from the Raiders defense. And I think that bodes well for the Cowboys offense. They don't have a ton, and this is all coming from, I want to give the credit to Bucky Brooks of NFL Network. He does a great job of breaking down teams and tape. But what he was basically saying is that this is a defense that doesn't have a ton of outstanding, blue chip playmakers, but they will be able to line up in their spots. They're not going to disguise a whole lot of stuff. They'll line up in their spots and focus on execution. If you execute, it doesn't matter. So I think that as Cowboys fans, we know exactly what kind of team that is. So I think that this Cowboys team is a lot different, and I think they're a lot better than this Raiders team. So I'm looking forward to seeing somebody, not sure who it's going to be in the passing game, somebody break off a big one against their two high safeties.
Well said, and I think we ought to turn over the coin now. We've done a lot, and we've covered a lot about offense. Let's go ahead and turn the tide a little bit. We've hit a lot of points on Dallas's offense. On the defensive side of the football, we are still without the likes of DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory for at least one more game. Can the Cowboys still get pressure on Derek Carr without their starting ends?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely can. I mean, we've seen it. History repeats itself, so let's hope that it repeats itself Thursday afternoon. We've seen multiple games without Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence as the main pass rushers, and the Cowboys still find a way to generate pressure. A lot of that is because Micah Parsons is an absolute baller. Another reason is because Dan Quinn is really good at realizing what everybody's strengths are and combining them almost and generating pressure by committee. That's almost the way that it seems to me. Everybody's played their role, and they've played their role really, really well. And in turn, it's created sacks, turnovers, pressure, all of those things. And those are things that you're going to need in order to win football games.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. You look at a guy like Micah Parsons, who seems to have led his defense in the absence of those leaders in Gregory and D-Law. So I think that it's a testament to the depth of this defense. I think that it'll continue to be a linear progression in terms of how well the defensive side of the football produces for Dallas. So heading into Atlanta, our defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, had a very visible chip on his shoulder in a game where his new defense held his former team to only 3 points. For those of you who don't know, former Cowboys defensive coordinator Rod Merinelli is at the head of this Las Vegas defensive front. While he isn't the coordinator of the defense as a whole, do you sense that Merinelli looks at this as a revenge game, and will his defense do enough to stop a Dallas offense that is hungry to bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Merinelli can get the most out of these guys. I know that they've got a couple of players that can generate pressure and that can play well. So it'll be interesting to see if Merinelli can actually draw something up in order to get pressure against an offensive line that struggled last week. Now, obviously, I don't think Zach Martin is going to play that poorly moving forward. Having Tyron Smith back is going to make a huge difference. But these AFC West teams are built to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, basically. This is what they were saying on the Cowboys Break podcast where Bucky Brooks was doing his tape breakdown. But these teams are built to stop the Kansas City Chiefs offense. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how their defense goes against our offense, if they're able to generate that pressure, because that really is the way to beat the Cowboys, is stop them on their first drive and let your offense get a lead. Because if you let the Cowboys become front runners, from what we've seen this season, they're going to win those football games. But if you can get ahead of them and keep them behind you, which is a lot easier said than done, you've got to have the right personnel. But if you can accomplish that and you've got the personnel to do that, that's the way to beat the Cowboys. Otherwise, the Cowboys will stomp you. Basically, their offense is just way too good.
We touched on this briefly where we established the fact that the Atlanta game was kind of an anomaly, not only in the fact that we absolutely beat them down, but the fact that we scored on the first drive, and not only scored, but scored a touchdown. I know we talked about this before we came on the air, but what are your thoughts on getting the ball first or potentially deferring to the second half if we win that coin toss?
I am a huge advocate for always defer. I don't care who you're going against, and I know there's going to be conflicting opinions on this, but for me, I'm just one of those guys that prefers for my team to have the ball coming out of the half. The halftime adjustments, I know that there's not a ton of time, but having that minute with yourself by yourselves to kind of make those adjustments, realize what we're doing. This is what we're going to do in the second half. You know what I mean? So having the time to make the adjustments and then coming right out on offense, I just don't see how that's not beneficial for a team that's built like Dallas. So I don't want them to take the ball first. I've seen enough of that from this season and previous couple of seasons where we take it and we don't really do anything with it. So for me, if I'm the coach of the Cowboys, which obviously I am not, but I'm gonna tell the guys like, hey, go ahead and defer. We want the ball in the second half if we win this toss.
You take a look at the way this team is built and the way they've played thus far in the season, you think you almost have to defer to the second half. The defense have proven time and time again that they produce under pressure. As we all know, pressure produces diamonds, and that is the case here on this defensive program here for the Dallas Cowboys. But also on the opposite side of things, the Cowboys offense does really well in terms of bouncing back. So for it, let's just say we do defer to the second half and the opposition does score a touchdown on that first drive, you got to rely and expect Dak Prescott and his supporting crew to go down and respond and get a touchdown of their own, if not come away with 3 points.
Sure, and that's a valid point. But for me, I want my defense out there. I want my defense to be active. I want them out there when they're the most excited, the most ready to play. Especially for a guy like Micah Parsons that flies around like crazy and is so intense. I mean, the mentality of this kid he's just built different, and I think you're seeing that. You're seeing him have that effect on some of our other players. But what I kind of wanted to ask was, if we do get the ball first, what do you think the chances are that our defense is able to either get a 3-and-out or get a turnover on that first drive against the Las Vegas Raiders?
If we get the ball first or if we defer?
If we defer and the Raiders get the ball first and we're on defense first, what do you think the chances are our defense makes a 3-and-out stop or gets a turnover?
See, I think that this is a defense that starts slow. You can see that's proven true in the Kansas City Chiefs game. The Chiefs scored the majority of their points in the first 16 minutes of that game, only producing 3 in the final 44. That being said, I don't necessarily say I rely on them to get a 3-and-out or for them to stop the opposition and getting points. But I do believe that they've proven to be a bend don't break defense. So with that being said, I don't foresee Las Vegas getting a touchdown on that first drive, but I won't say that they won't come away with 3.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I know you make a great point. Our defense has started slow. We kind of see what they're doing almost, and we make adjustments. But I just think that last week, obviously there's a short week, so that might play a factor. But coming off of last week, the way that they played, I just think that this team has an all-time high as far as confidence goes. So I'm going to go ahead and make my bold prediction for the defense. I think that Micah gets a sack on the first drive of the game. I think they make them go 3-and-out. And if they can do that, I think AT&T Stadium is going to be lit. I think it's going to be wild in there. So that's going to be my bold prediction. I see Micah making a big play to start the game.
Well, as a fan and as you fans listening at home and watching, I'm sure we all agree and hope that you are right in your prediction in that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it this far, we just want to thank you. Please understand that we are a growing channel. If there's different content that you'd like to see, the stuff that we don't cover, please leave it in the comment section below. This is our chance to wrap up. But before we get into that, I would like to ask you, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but what are your predictions in terms of the score tomorrow? Are we going to cover the spread? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So Dallas opened, I'm not sure where they opened at, but as we're sitting right now, they're a 7.5 point favorite. So as far as that goes, I'm praying we cover that spread. It's Thanksgiving. I just want to eat my turkey, sit back and relax and watch the Cowboys whoop up on the Raiders. I don't care about a good game. I don't care about being entertained. What's going to entertain me is I'm sitting there with some pumpkin pie and the Cowboys cover the spread and they win by 20. But I feel foolish for picking the Cowboys to win by double digits last week against the Chiefs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this one conservative. I'm going to say the Cowboys at home have scored a lot of points this season. They really have. I believe they're averaging around 34 points a game at home this season. So I don't think it's out of the question to say that the Cowboys score 31 points. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. I'm praying they win this game. But I got Cowboys 31, and I think something funky happens for the Raiders. Let's say that it's 25 that they get.
I am certainly an advocate for this team's ability to bounce back, and for a fan base that is taking time out of their Thanksgiving to come and watch their team play. I fully expect that fan base to be fully engaged and make that stadium pop as they are postponing and pushing back their dinner. I fully expect them to be fully engaged. With that being said, I played conservative here on the opposite end of the table. I played conservative last week. I picked Cowboys by 4 this week. Like I said, fully anticipate them bouncing back. It's going to be a dominant victory. In my opinion, it's going to be 34-17.
34-17. I hope you're right, because I want to be chilling with my pumpkin pie. Nothing to worry about. So
the question remains, will the Cowboys feast on Thanksgiving? We know we will. As Cowboys fan here at True Blue Nation, we definitely hope and pray that the Cowboys don't let us down as they have in years past. But ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it this far, we want to thank you for your time and attention and hope that you've learned something of value here in the last half hour. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and activate that bell button so that you can be the first to know when a new episode of Noise of the Boys podcast is dropped. And with that, we are out of here. Matt Longoria and Uncle CTom, and we will see each and every one of you for the post-game report.
Peace!